45.3 million people. That is more than 4 times the amount of people that live in the state of Michigan, and is also how many Americans are suffering from student loan debt as of just 2 years ago. With that, the average student loan amount owed per person to the federal government is around $37,338. With all this kept in mind, the cost of college needs to be significantly cheaper because it would be highly beneficial and lead to a happier society overall. So the first question would be, what makes the cost of college an issue? And while it does play a major role in funding the institutions itself, it also continues to keep low-income communities separate from a better chance of success. After all, people with a bachelor's degree are making around $30,000 more annually than those with just a high school diploma, but at the rate that college prices are increasing at about 8% per year, tuition is going to become nearly unaffordable for low-income families in the near future, which will continue to further separate them from financial success. And to put that into perspective, an 8% increase means that tuition costs will be doubling every 9 years. Cost should not be an issue when seeking a higher education, but even NPR pinpoints it as one of the top reasons people either drop out of college or simply just don't go. Even if low-income students do find a way to afford college outside of scholarships and personal contribution, they will most likely be left with an unmanageable amount of debt. The Hetchinger report stated that families earning $40,000 or less per year are 5 times more likely to default their loans within 12 years of entering college. And default would mean that they are no longer able to pay off their loans, which is a scary reality to steer many away from receiving a higher education. And that's rightfully so. Another thing that deters low-income communities is how in the last decade, 90 universities and colleges have heightened their net prices for their lowest income students while lowering their net prices for their highest income students. This statistic shocked me because I would expect quite the opposite, but even right next to us in Kalamazoo, federal data has shown that the net price for their highest income students has fallen 5% while rising 26% for their lowest income students. And the lowest income students in the study are outside of their Kalamazoo Promise program, but even with that, it's still an insane statistic to think about. So the second question with this topic would be, what makes this debt so unmanageable? The answer would be because the interest rate is just so high. The rate will usually be anywhere between 4 and 17%, and though this seems minute when you just hear it, the high interest rates mean that the longer it takes to pay off the loan, the more money that will be owed. These rates take a nearly manageable expense at first and turn it into an endless expense that most people are unable to pay off. Those interviewed by the Business Insiders labeled their student loan costs as a never-ending cycle and stated that they felt financial paralysis because though they've been able to pay off the original amount that they owed, they still have to pay off all that has built up with the interest over time. Along with that, an article by the Scientific American illustrates the story of a young woman who struggled to afford the price of her student loan bills. It mentions how she had to go on food stamps and dive into her savings just to afford her student loan bills while also being able to afford the price of living. But even after all that, she still cannot pay them off. The same article mentions a report by the Education Trust that states 67% of those surveyed have stated that they felt negative impacts on their mental health due to their student loan debt. Overall, a large portion of American society would be less stressed and happier if the cost of college wasn't so outrageously high in the first place. Besides lessening the chances of financial struggle, lowering the cost of college would also lead to a more educated society overall. Though the chance of higher income is what motivates a lot of people to go to college in the first place, many are no longer taking the risk of having an overwhelming amount of debt when they already have access to well-paying jobs that don't require the college degree. With less people seeking the higher education, there's a chance for a less educated society in the near future. If the cost of college was lower, more people might take the time to seek a higher education beyond just high school. But to sum up all the points previously mentioned, more affordable college would lead to a less stressed and better educated society. This would benefit our nation in so many ways and is a change that needs to be made in order to give everyone an equal chance at a financially and emotionally stable future.